OMG. What a day. What a day. What a whirlwind. My head is absolutely spinning between trying to get ready for this, trying to follow the news to see when the news broke, trying to edit an article that was done about who the next coach is going to be over on my website. Absolute craziness. And I've missed the breaking news by a few minutes, but it is out now, folks. It's not rumor anymore. It's not reports anymore. The news is actually out. Darian DeVries is leaving the West Virginia Mountaineer basketball program after only one season to be the head coach, not of Iowa, but of the Indiana Hoosiers. That's right. Darian DeVries, according to Indiana basketball themselves, who put a post out on X. Welcome to Indiana, Coach DeVries. Welcome, Darian DeVries, head coach, Indiana men's basketball. Can West Virginia fans, can we take any more? Can we take any more of this crap? In less than 2 years, we've lost our legendary coach to a DUI and a radio slur. Had a coaching search that landed ultimately on an interim who was an assistant at the time, which led to a 9-win season. And in the middle of that, you had legal battles over eligibility of some of our better players. Then the interim coach gets let go. They bring in DeVries. The best player on the team, arguably, Tucker, his son, gets injured 8 games in, has to have shoulder surgery, misses the entire season. Jaden Stone doesn't even play the whole season. He likely would have been a big scorer for the Mountaineers. They get snubbed by the NCAA in making the tournament, arguably the largest snub ever. And now, less than 2 days later, our head coach, he's out the door. And just, what was it, 12 hours ago, Ren Baker was on Sportsline saying he knows what we have here. Now, Ren never committed to Darren staying. But he did say that he thinks West Virginia is going to be in good shape, and I believe that. But, man, this is a hard pill to swallow right here. It's a hard pill to swallow. Us West Virginia fans have been kicked in the absolute gonads multiple times now. I mean, does it ever stop? Look, at the end of the day, these are first world problems, right? I'm not going hungry. I got a roof over my head. I'm healthy. I have a family. All that's great. But, man, as a sports fan, this is getting absolutely old. Now, there are some really good coaching candidates out there that could replace DeVries. I'm not going to touch on that right this minute unless you guys want me to. As you guys know the drill. If you want to make sure I see your comment and address it and answer it, make sure you can drop a super chat, hit the $sign near the chat box. I will address your comment. And I may even, after I get through my diatribe here, I might even do a call-in show, let you guys call in. Who knows? Let you guys vent. Sometimes it's good to just let you guys vent to me, right? Get it off your chest. Well, I'll be Paul Feinbaum today. But, man, it's not. LeBron Jenkins says, is Huggins the only one to stay loyal? I tell you, it does make you wonder, is this why so many West Virginia fans want somebody with a West Virginia ties? But even that didn't work. Rich Rod left after 7 years, remember? So I don't know if that works either. Mark Fain, I don't think it's funny, brother. I don't know what you're laughing at. It's really not funny, to be honest with you. I know it's not at the end of the day, it's just a game. But I don't know why you're laughing. And maybe somebody said something funny in the comments. Do I look funny? Do I have a booger in my nose or something? Anyway. Yeah, just absolute gut punch. I know, Mark. You're right, brother. They're not loyal either. But I guess the only positive silver lining to this is Coach DeVries has to pay, or Indiana will probably pay it for him. We'll have to pay West Virginia a big buyout about $4.5 million. That's big in basketball numbers. Not necessarily wouldn't be big in football, but they will make $4.5 million off of him leaving. They can put that towards the new coach, whoever that might be. I will have a video coming, hopefully, maybe even later tonight or at least in the morning, with some of my top candidates to replace Darian DeVries. I shouldn't say in the morning, sometime tomorrow. Jonathan Palmer, is he making $6 million? I haven't even got that far yet, man. I've been knee deep in work trying to prepare for this and other things, and yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Jonathan. What Drake buyout and what $6 million? Mark Painter with the super chat. Thank you, Mark. He says, not laughing at bro, flat out disgusted. Yeah, I wasn't talking to you, Mark. I'm sorry. It was a different Mark. My bad. I should have specified. But man, this is crazy stuff, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy. Literally 24 hours ago, we all thought he was going to Iowa. Turns out he wasn't even a candidate at Iowa. It was Indiana all along. I do have to give some credit here real quick. For any of you who are on the 24/7 sports message boards, yes, it's official, Raven. For any of you who are on the 24/7 sports message boards, kudos to Mike Casaza. Mike Casaza told us from the very beginning, Indiana, we need to take Indiana seriously. They're a serious candidate or he's a serious candidate for that job. A lot of people didn't believe it. Everybody thought it was Iowa. Mike ended up being right. He goes to Indiana instead. All because of this right here. Indiana is a blue blood basketball program. They have a lot of money. Now, from everything I read and heard, West Virginia, Ren Baker was doing everything they could to try to keep him. They offered him more money. But at the end of the day, Indiana has deeper NIL pockets than West Virginia, and I think that's probably what pushed him over the edge. A couple $1 million more a year in NIL makes a big difference in college basketball. And that's probably all it took to get him to Indiana. It gets him back to the Midwest. Yeah, it's not to his home state of Iowa, but it gets him closer to home. He's back in the Midwest where he probably wants to be, which makes me wonder why he took the job in the first place, to be perfectly honest. And he gets more money. And not only are we going to lose him, we're going to lose Tucker now. Tucker DeVries got to play 8 games in a Mountaineer uniform. We just keep getting kicked in the stomach, man. I'm going to keep it clean for the ladies on here. But, man, I'm sick and tired of getting punched in the stomach as a fan. Again, I know it's first world problems. I'm not going to get on here and cry. But enough's enough, man. When will the sports gods smile on West Virginia fans, right? Give me a friggin' break. How are we the unluckiest fan base in America? I mean, good grief. Jackson Clark, thank you for the super chat. Indiana has insane expectations. If he doesn't perform, he will be ousted quickly. I can't wish him luck because I'm pissed. Jackson Clark, I agree. I might be able to wish him luck 2 to 3 days from now, maybe even tomorrow. But right now I can't, man. It just, these coaches, man, they stand up at these podiums and they talk about how they want to be there, how they wouldn't leave for any other job. Boom, they're gone a year later. It just, and I understand that he had no idea this Indiana job was going to come open. He had no idea probably what the NIL situation was like at West Virginia versus Indiana. He didn't know any of that, right? So you can't predict the future. So I understand these coaches at that point in time, they probably mean it. Yes, we plan on being here a long time. But it just gets so frustrating for us to have to sit and listen to it. And we buy into it every time because we love our teams and we have faith in the people who are leading our teams. But, man, it is so aggravating. It makes you not want to trust anybody. We're probably going to lose most of our roster again. Probably lose most of our recruiting class again. I mean, I'm kind of glad now we didn't go to the NCAA tournament because DeVries likely would have stayed on for a while and not taken the job. Or I don't know, maybe he would have taken a job had West Virginia made the tournament and not left. I don't know. Makes me wonder, did us getting snubbed out of the NCAA tournament cause him to leave or push him out the door faster? Or does it help us because we're able to find a coach faster? I don't know. Who knows? I don't even know. Yeah, Coach LeChuck, I feel bad for Wren too, man. I feel bad for Wren too. He's having to do his third basketball coaching search in less than 2 years. That is insane. That has to be some kind of record, right? Somebody looked at Guinness Book of World Records. Most coaching searches done in 2 years by any. I mean, he did a football search, three basketball searches. I mean, unbelievable. Ben McCollum is definitely one of the people on my list there, John. But unfortunately, I think, I had been hearing that Ben McCollum was the top target of Indiana. But now Iowa might be coming after him hard. We'll see. West Virginia, I think, is in a better spot, but he's from Iowa, though, so that might give them a leg up. I do like the fact that he has ties to Wren Baker. He actually worked for Wren Baker at Northwest Missouri State. So Wren Baker has seen him coach up close and personal, knows how good of a coach he is. But Wren likes coaches with experience. He's mentioned that multiple times in all of his searches. Ben McCollum's only coached at the Division I level for 1 year. Is that going to be enough? I don't know. I think he's good enough to take a chance on, but I also think there are a lot of other good coaches out there too that are good enough to take chances on. Like Will Wade, for example, or others. And I know a lot of people don't like Will Wade because of the controversy in his past, but the stuff he got in trouble for is legal now in college basketball. So I say bring him on. The guy wins. He can recruit. But that's another topic for another day. Right now, we're going to stick to DeVries leaving. I mean, we already got Jonathan Powell going to the portal. And if Chester Frazier, he's responsible for bringing in some of these recruits, likely he's going to leave now. So most of our roster is probably, if not all, is going to leave. It's just another year of rebuilding in basketball. So we're going to a basketball rebuild, a football rebuild, and now another basketball rebuild. Now, the silver lining is it can be done in a year. Coach DeVries has proven it can be done in one calendar year. With the transfer portal, and if the West Virginia donors will step up and support the new coach, whoever that ends up being, they can turn it around in a year. So, that's something we can hang our hat on if it's the right coach. And again, I trust Wren. Wren has shown he's really good at hiring coaches, especially in basketball. So I trust him to make the right decision here. But man, I don't understand how any AD could deal with this, man. I know he's making a lot of money, so I guess it's okay. But yeah, and I see a lot of people talking about Huggins in the chat. I think that era is done, man. I love Huggy Bear, but his last few years did not go that well anyway. They missed a tournament, I think, 2 out of 3 years, and 1 year they made it. I think they were one and done, and the controversy behind it. He's over 70 now. He probably don't have a lot of years left anyway. I'd like to see him, go with somebody younger. Maybe you do, though, need to look closer at someone with West Virginia ties, though. I don't know. And I just don't see Wren, I don't know. I don't think Wren and Bob Huggins have a bad relationship necessarily. I think Huggins' issue has always been with Gordon Gee for the most part. But Gee, let's be real. Gee is still the president of West Virginia, and he is until July 1st. Now, they do have a new president coming in, but Gee still holds that seat for right now. So, I'm sure he still has some say in what goes on there. And as long as he's there, I doubt Bob Huggins. And let's be honest, too, Ken Kendrick, West Virginia's biggest donor, he wanted Bob Huggins gone. He would not be a fan of bringing Bob Huggins back if that's what they chose to do. And I know they're not the donors aren't the end all be all, but you've got to try to work with them and keep them happy as much as you can. Wren's post makes it sound like DeVries went behind his back to take the job. Interesting. I'm going to have to pull that up. John Waffle, H2P with the super chat. Thank you, John. He says, I'm sure this is something I probably don't want to read, but you paid me, so I'll read it anyway. He says, remember Catlett years, WVU isn't relevant. You should expect this. We're a top 25 program in wins, Waffle. Where's Pitt on that list in basketball? Go find it and show me. And the cat, you're having to go back a long ways to find when we weren't relevant, brother. More than 20 years, as a matter of fact. Maybe 30. I don't even remember how long ago it's been. Let's see. Baseball team's doing good. Yeah, we've got that to hang our hat on, right? Let me go find this Ren Baker post that everybody's talking about. We can look at that together because I had not seen it yet. Well, I don't know. I don't see a statement by Ren Baker, guys. Can somebody show me where it was? Because I'm not seeing it. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong. Must have been on the basketball page. All right, here we go. Yep. All right, I've got the statement up. We're going to read it. This is my first time reading it. Maybe some of you too. We're going to read it together. All right, it says, statement from VP Director of Athletics Ren Baker on WVU men's basketball. Coach DeVries informed me of his plans to accept the head coaching position at another institution. Coach and I had several conversations in recent weeks focused on working together to build on a strong foundation and continue to grow our program. I made it clear to him that WVU is committed to invest in him and provide the resources needed to compete in the Big 12 and nationally. Ultimately, he decided to move on, and I want to thank him for his time at WVU. We have an outstanding basketball tradition with some of the most loyal and passionate fans in college basketball. We have tremendously generous supporters and a great partnership with the university that allows us to compete in this new era of college athletics. The alignment between the leadership of our board of governors, the university and athletics department is strong, and I am confident our momentum will continue as we work diligently to identify the next leader of our men's basketball program, Ren Baker. I don't know that. I don't know that he went behind his back. I don't really take it that way. I take it as Ren just doing everything in his power to keep him and it not being enough. So maybe at the end of the day, for whatever reason, Coach DeVries just wasn't happy at West Virginia. We will never know the answer to that question. Maybe his family didn't like living in Morgantown. There are a lot of reasons. At the end of the day, I think it probably all boils down to Indiana's a prestigious basketball brand. They're a blue blood in basketball. They have more money than West Virginia from an NIL perspective. And I think at the end of the day, that's probably what pushed him over the edge. And again, it gets him closer to home. He spent his entire career in the Midwest, and this gets him back to the Midwest where he spent almost his entire life. I got another super chat from Daniel Gigax. Daniel, thank you, brother. He says, I thought DDV and Ren got things smoothed over in Charleston. Well, to me, that was just Ren trying to make a push to show his support. Who knows if they even discussed anything about that in Charleston, and who knows what Ren actually knew. Most of the stuff he heard probably came through the search agency that a lot of these schools use the same search agencies. And I think they were using the same one. If they were, then the search agency was likely reaching out to Ren, letting him know what was going on out of respect for him. And, that's kind of how, they don't want to burn any bridges, right? So they keep the lines of communication open as much as they can. But, I hope that Coach DeVries did this the right way and stayed above board with this whole thing. But, if not, oh well, Ren will go out and find somebody else. It is what it is. Coach DeVries did not seem like that type of guy that would do that. Coach LeChuck says you can read the saltiness in it. I do sense a little bit of saltiness, Coach. I do for sure. I don't know that I read it that he done it behind his back, but I do think he's a little bit salty, and I think I would be too. I mean, I think Wren has done at least from someone who's not familiar with the inner workings of the program or all the financials or any of that. It looks to me like Wren did everything in his power to give Coach DeVries what he wanted. He had a contract extension waiting for him to sign. All indications were that they were offering him more money. They were pushing hard to get NIL improved. I think they were doing everything they could, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't enough. And maybe at the end of the day, it was just the fact that, hey, I get to go coach. I get to go to Indiana, one of the most prestigious basketball schools in of all time, and and be a Hoosier. I mean, it's anybody who's passionate about college basketball that understands the history there, right? Especially somebody like him that he grew up one state over. I'm sure he's very familiar with it. Yep, I agree, Mark Fain. I would definitely pull up the Brinks truck for Will Wade. Unfortunately, I'm reading some rumors that Will Wade might be already be close to the finish line to becoming the next coach at NC State. So he might be off the board already. Let's see, James, what are you referring to, brother? Anyway, really appreciate you guys hopping on. If you're watching this on X, by the way, I want to ask you, once the show's over, please come over to the Hoops from the Hills YouTube channel and subscribe to us over there. We cover Mountaineer basketball all season and all off season long. We will obviously cover this story, the coaching search. We'll cover, transfer portal moves. We'll cover all of that right here on the channel. So stay tuned. Stay tuned in. Stay dialed in. Make sure your notifications are on. So when I do an impromptu live show or upload a new video, you'll be notified. Got Browns and Beers in the house. He says, a WVU alumni leading IU CFP making program along with this just makes the kick to the what feel that much harder. Yeah. Got Kurt Signetti Jr. over there. Or not junior, Kurt Signetti over there leading the Indiana football team, who's a West Virginia alum. And then you've got this situation. Kind of like it's not the same, but similar to what Michigan was like back in the day when they had Beeline and Rich Rod both, right? At the same time. Probably the closest to that I can think of. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, please like and subscribe to Hoops from the Hills. Much appreciated. And for those of you who may not be familiar, I do have a football channel called Couz's Corner where I cover West Virginia Mountaineer football along with the Big 12. Actually dropped a new video today about potential new structure in the Big 12 conference that could come down the pipeline. So go check that out over at Couz's Corner. And I'm on the brand new website, wvsportschat.com. Have a writer as we speak working on an article about this very topic right here. We already have an article getting ready to publish about some potential coaching candidates. So be on the lookout for that, wvsportschat.com or couzescorner.com. It'll take you right to it as well. All right, let's go ahead and jump in and see if we can get to some chats here. WVU Fan 13 says, what's your thoughts on the possibility of him maybe already knowing that either the Iowa or Indiana job would be open? And that was one of the reasons why Tucker did not play this season. I'm not going to accuse Tucker of that because I think that would be irresponsible of me. But to say it definitely didn't happen would be also be naive. But I just don't see, that means his, Tucker DeVries is an potential NBA talent. Had he balled out at West Virginia this year, he could have got drafted. I don't see him delaying that just to go play somewhere else. You know what I mean? So I don't think that was the case. Is it possible? Yes, but I don't think that was the case. I don't think it helps him. I don't really see how it benefits him that much to do that. He and Javon Small, they had something special brewing there, and I think they knew that. With Javon there, they knew how good Javon could be because they'd seen him at practice every day. So I just don't see it, but it is possible. Justin Young's in the house. Going to a weaker conference. Justin, I agree, brother. Big Ten, in my opinion, is a weaker basketball conference than WVU. So it might be maybe that's a great point. Maybe he feels like it'll be easier to win there than it will at West Virginia because he don't feel like it'll be as hard. That's another valid point. Bring home Darius, says Mickey Ellison. That's somebody that I really hadn't thought a lot about. He's got, he's been at Radford. He just took the job at LaSalle, maybe. Is it LaSalle that Darius Nichols got hired at? I can't remember. Shaggy of WV says recruiting class is gone. We just need to focus on forgetting the mistake of hiring DeVries and find someone who wants to be here. Agreed. Jackson Clark, Indiana, was in the Bahamas with us. Shut Tucker down not long after that. Ron says West Virginia will be fine. Just got to find the right coach. Jackson Clark, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. They were in that same tournament, weren't they? James Weekly says we need the women's coach to maybe coach the men's. Look what he did. I guess that's possible. It's not something you see very often, though. I think a good coach is a good coach, though. Forever Nothing says, as West Virginians, this is something we have had to deal with even before statehood. We have always been spit on, left out, hated, underdogs, etc. It seems like we always have to prove ourselves. Great point. I think that's our mentality here. WV Sports Report says, any chance Hugs gets a look? I doubt it, not as long as Gordon Gee still has a say. Browns and Beers says, I'm an early supporter of Andy Kennedy or Medved. Medved's a Minnesota alumni that's also open, so it may be too late, but his wife's family is from Morgantown. I didn't know that. Happy wife, happy life. I did not know Nico Medved's wife was from Morgantown. I do think I have been hearing he's the top candidate for the Minnesota job, though, so that might be his number one target, but we'll see. Again, SEC Big Ten starting to rule the world, right? It's unbelievable, man. Now it's trickling over into basketball. Tinfoil hats unite, says Jackson Clark. I'm going to do something, guys, I don't do very often. I'm going to leave the link to this in the chat and see if any of you want to join me on here. I can only take one at a time. But there is the link. If you want to join the show and vent, give me your thoughts on this situation, feel free to do so. Can't promise I'll be able to get everybody on, but I'll get to as many as I can. And I can only do one at a time. Got Dave Maynard in the house. So talks about Bryce Drew. That's someone I hadn't thought about. S6 unit wants to hire one of our own. James Weekly says Neil Brown might be good at coaching football. I think you mean basketball, James, but yeah, I like that comment. WV to Florida says we'll be good. WV will live to see another day. It's just an obstacle. We're here to stay. I agree, man. I agree. We're not going to. Brandon Bailey in the house says my heart isn't broken. If he don't want to be here so long, I hate it, but we need to find someone committed to West Virginia with West Virginia ties. Got Daniel Gigax in the house. Come on. What's up, man? How you doing? Yep. That's crazy, isn't it? Don Plitzawhite.
I'm not going to put the tinfoil hat on Tucker sitting out just to sit out. I mean, he was legitimately injured. He had a chance to go to the NBA this year if he wouldn't have been injured.
Right.
So that right there tells me something else was up.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, he was, injured early into the season, so it's not like that we're talking. It was a late season injury.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not putting a tinfoil hat on for that. He was injured. Now the red shirt, I can understand that. I
Yeah.
mean, if he was rehab, like if his rehab was not going well,
Mm-hmm.
um, they might have just said, "Okay, we'll close it down. We'll give you a red shirt."
Right.
But the fact that Darren is leaving, I don't think that probably was not in the original plans.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Iowa's opening was fairly late, and Indiana's opening. I'm trying to remember when we announced that he was leaving. It was somewhere in like late February.
Yeah. You talking about the Indiana coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. The Indiana. Yeah.
I think that's right.
So yeah, yeah. So he announced in like late February he was leaving. So we're talking. We knew that job was going to open. Iowa didn't announce that they were firing McCaffrey until what, like a week ago? Is that last
Yeah,
week
I don't
or?
even know if it's been a full week yet. Yeah, it's just been a few
Yeah,
days. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely, somebody in the chat here says, what if Tucker's first let me get to the super chat. Mike in West Virginia says, thanks for all the great content, Couz. Mike in West Virginia, thank you for the support, brother. I appreciate you and everybody for the support of the show. I couldn't do it without you. Obviously can't do a show without an audience. So, but I did see somebody say, hey, what if Tucker doesn't leave? You know?
Oh, Tucker's leaving.
Yeah.
Tucker's leaving.
Yeah, I saw it.
There's no way that he's going to not be coached by his dad.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. I think you're right. Um,
No matter how well he likes Morgantown, he's not leaving.
yeah.
I'm sorry, he's leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're getting back closer to the home of their family, and I don't look from everything I've heard about the DeVries, they're an extremely tight knit family, and I think maybe moving that far away wasn't something he liked as much as he thought he would. We don't know the situation.
No, here, like I said, we've had this conversation before.
Mm-hmm.
What does Mrs. DeVries think of
Exactly.
Morgantown? She might have been, we're too far away.
Yeah. Yep. You never know, and that's somebody put in here a minute ago, man. Happy wife, happy life, right?
Yep.
Daniel, can you say real quick what you? I didn't have you on the screen at first, so they
No,
couldn't hear you. No, I mean, I didn't have you. They couldn't hear you at first because I didn't have
oh,
you
sorry.
put in. I didn't have you in the studio yet when you were
Oh,
talking
okay.
about how many years West Virginia went without.
19 from 1978 to 2023, West Virginia had three coaches. They had Gail Catlett, Beeline, and Puggy.
Right.
So that's a pretty good stretch
It
of
is.
having coaching consistency.
It is. So I probably overreacted when I said it feels like we're getting kicked in the gonads, but
But we've
here,
gone through. This will be
right.
the fourth coach in 4 years,
Yeah, that's
and the
crazy, man.
third time that the whole entire roster is going to get changed over in 3 years.
Yeah. Do you what real quick, and I'm gonna let you go. I've got some other people waiting. Appreciate you jumping on, man.
Hey, no problem.
Always love talking ball with you. What are would you be for or against bringing Bob Huggins back?
Against.
Okay. I
He
figured
is 72.
two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. He's 72. So even if he comes back, we're only talking maybe 1 or 2 years at most as like a stopgap.
Yeah.
Um, I'd like to see Wade, but I think Wade's already got a job.
Yeah, I'd love Wade, man. But I keep hearing, I don't think it's official yet, but I keep hearing that he's going to be the guy at NC State.
Yes.
See, most of these coaches are playing in the tournament, and they're not going to announce anything until they're done, So
Exactly.
we won't know for a few days probably.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
all
I
right,
gotta go.
Dan, thanks, brother.
Hey, no problem.
Next, we got Pat in the house. Let me unmute you, Pat. Pat, how you doing?
As good as can be, I guess. Yourself?
Buddy, I'm here, and I'm good. I'm doing fine, man. Hey, this at the end of the day, this is college basketball, right? It's not life or death, so I'm doing fine, man. But from a fan, yeah, I feel like I've been kicked in the gut. Which
Yeah,
I say that. I mean, it's kind of been a slow deal because we've kind of known this was coming for the last 2 to 3 days. So I guess I've been able to prepare myself a little bit. But what are your initial thoughts on it, man?
Oh yeah. You said we.
What's that? I lost you, Pat. All right, we lost Pat, so I'm going to John Horick.
Hey, Couz, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, John, how you doing?
Just frustrated, man. It just you can't make this stuff up. It's like hard to. I don't know. I just feel like numb as a Mountaineer fan right now. It sucks. Like this whole year, like this whole calendar like year, it like I feel like we get no closure on the season. Like this team that we had that we were all hopeful for, the season just kind of ended randomly, and I just don't know what to think about like the future about West Virginia and in general. Just like this football season, there was so much hype around the team and for that Penn State game, and that was a kick in the nuts, and that was disappointing. And then
Yep.
with the black uniforms, and Neil's gone, and then I'm excited for Rich Rod, but we're gonna have 70 new guys on the roster next year, so you have no idea who you're watching next year. And then for the fourth year in a row, we're gonna have a completely new basketball team, man. It's just really discouraging as a West Virginia fan that we have to put up with this. I have friends because I live in New Jersey, and I have a lot of friends that like Penn State and this stuff, and they don't have to put up with this stuff that we do, man. It just you can't make it up. It just sucks.
I know, man. I jokingly say a lot, and I'm only half joking, to be honest with you. Sometimes I think we're cursed as a fan base, man, or as a athletic program or whatever you want to call it. Athletic.
I've been a fan of West Virginia since 2011 when I went to school there. I started going to Jersey, and it was like, oh man, we just won the Orange Bowl. We were off of this. When you looked at the perception of West Virginia as a New Jerseyan, you're like, man, it's close to home. They win BCS bowl games. They just went to the Final Four. I'm like, oh my god, like this is great. And when I first year there, they won the Orange Bowl with 70 points. I'm like, oh my god. And then ever since then, it has just been. We'll have flashes where we'll get Will Greer and we're right there, and then we blow an 11-point lead to Oklahoma State in football, and then we're not in the Big 12 championship game, and then then we get all these awesome guys, and they all hit the transfer portal, and it's really getting hard to like stomach watching college athletics right now. Really, this one really turns me off. It really does.
It does, man. It does. Hey, I want to let you get on here and vent a little bit and speak your mind, and I'm gonna make it short because I got other people wait. But I do want to get. I'm gonna ask every guest this one question, man. What's your opinion about bringing back Bob Huggins?
I don't know if that's the right move, man. I love Huggins, and he's super loyal, and it makes you appreciate him a little bit more now today. It makes me appreciate him a little bit more today, but ultimately, this is we showed this year, like you said earlier, like we could win with the right coach, and like we saw glimpses. Like, I mean, look at DeVries this year, man. We beat Kansas on the road for the first time since we joined the conference. Like, it's just time for a new era, and I don't know, maybe we need to find a coach with ties to West Virginia that can stay here, but I don't think that's the move, man. I really don't, but I appreciate having me on, because I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Take care, John. All right, Larry, how you doing? Hey, Larry, sorry, you're unmuted now. How you doing, Larry? Or maybe he's not unmuted. I thought he was. Yeah, Larry, you got to unmute yourself. It's not letting me do it. You there? Larry, can you hear me? All right, can't hear Larry. So let's go to Nathan Scott, and then we'll get to Pat. Pat's going to try us again. Nathan, how we doing?
What's up? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. First of all, I want to say that I appreciate Coach DeVries
Mhm.
and what he's done for the university. My thought is we are going to fly right into one Drake coach to the next Drake coach. I think Ben McCollum's your next WVU head basketball coach,
Mhm.
and but I would prefer somebody that has West Virginia ties because if McCollum's going to come. And there's going to be teams out there if he does good, going to bounce out there and like they did DeVries.
Yeah, like maybe let's say the Notre Dame, because Ben McCollum's from Iowa too, by the way. What if the Notre Dame job comes open, or Iowa? Maybe he takes the Iowa job, right? He might even take the Iowa job actually.
Yeah, I
Instead of
haven't
us.
heard nothing yet about that. But
Yeah,
I would at least ask go after a like Jared Calhoun or a maybe even give Bob Huggins an interview.
yeah. Okay, I was going to ask you about that anyway. So thank you for that one. What would you think about somebody like I don't know, Deshaun Butler, who's now an assistant in the NBA, getting an interview?
Deshaun Butler. The only thing that scares me about Deshaun Butler, great basketball player. Um, that he's never had a head coaching experience job.
Right.
Darius Nichols is a name that I would rather take over
Yeah.
Deshaun Butler
Yeah.
because he does have head coaching experience.
He does. I haven't looked at Darius's. It's been a while since I've looked up Darius's resume. I'm going to go do that soon, but because I'm going to be doing videos on this here before long. But on the next coach, I mean, but that's definitely a name that keeps popping up. So it'll be interesting. He just got hired at LaSalle, so it might be hard to pluck him away now. He just literally signed the contract. But hey, who knows, right?
For West Virginia to put more money than the South.
They could, but it might be hard to pluck a guy away who literally just got there. But I don't know. We'll see. It's happened before, so it's not necessarily out of the question.
Yeah, who did that?
Well, I
Sullivan
mean,
went to the NBA, then come back to Florida.
yeah, and Dan Dockich did it to us a long time ago, if you remember. He came to
Yeah,
West Virginia for like 10 days and left.
yep, that was before Beeline.
Yep.
Yep.
Ended up being a good move for us because Beeline ended up being awesome, but it has happened.
Well, there's a name that another guy that has head coaching experience is
Who's that?
Patrick Beeline.
Yeah, but it's minimal. And I don't think he's been in it for a while. He get out of coaching for a while.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know, man. He does have it, but it's not a lot. It's not a ton, and I don't
Yeah.
know how much success he had.
Mike
I think,
Gandy's another name you could bring up.
yeah. Gansey, I doubt Gansey's going to want to leave the NBA GM job to come be a head coach in college, but you never know.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, not
And,
a problem.
Nathan, and I'm gonna jump to my next caller, man. Have a good
Yes,
one.
sir.
What's up, Pat? How you doing?
Hey, man. Sorry I cut out earlier. I don't know what happened.
That's okay. It happens, man. It's technology.
Yeah. Anyway, what I was trying to say is something to look at here is the one guy said this will be fourth coach in 4 years, and that means we have to reset every year. So maybe you just go with a guy like Chester Frazier, who's coached under a lot of guys. He's a great recruiter. He's been in charge of defenses at Illinois and here, and his defense looks good. He's from Maryland, so he's
Yep.
close to home.
Yep.
I think he really connects to the kids, and we know he wants a head coaching job. He stated before that he wants to be a head coach. Maybe you give him that opportunity, and he does well. He stays loyal. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know. You never know
I do.
nowadays.
I do think. I don't know whether they hire him or not. I don't know, but I do think he deserves an interview.
And something else you got to think of: we have 3 4 stars coming in. Well,
Mm-hmm.
going to come in next year. So maybe you have a chance to keep those guys if
Yep.
he's here. We don't know for sure who was the lead recruit on those guys.
Right. You got a chance to keep Sincere Harris. You got a chance to keep Imani Hansberry, maybe even the rest of the roster with the exception of Tucker, obviously.
They're right. So you can have some stability.
Yep.
And it's not a total collapse year in, year out.
Yep. Yeah. He's
So,
he's one of the best recruiters in the country from everything I've read about him. So
yeah. Something else I wanted to say real quick too.
Mhm.
I hear a lot of guys, and we're talking about guys with West Virginia ties, and I see the point, and it does make them more loyal, you would think, right? But I just think that we hired Bob Huggins not because he had West Virginia ties, but because he went to the Final Four, because he had the #1 recruiting class at Kansas
Mhm.
State. He was a great coach, and the West Virginia ties meant we could get him.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of these coaches are necessarily going to succeed here just because they're from here.
That's a great point. I don't either. And I'm not for giving, just because you're a West Virginia connection, you don't deserve the job. I mean, you got to have the right resume. You know what I mean?
Right.
The resume gets you the interview.
It might be the tiebreaker if you're from here.
Or let me reverse that. Having ties to West Virginia may get you an interview, but it ain't gonna get you the job.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just because you played at West Virginia doesn't make you a good coach either. Or just because you played period doesn't make you a good coach.
Yeah.
But I do think Chester Frazier, you mentioned him earlier, I do think he deserves an interview. And you talk about the West Virginia ties, even though it's a bonus, it limits your candidate pool when you do that, man. You just don't have. I mean, how many college coaches out there have ties to West Virginia that have a lot of head coaching experience? I can think of two off the top of my head. There's Nichols and Jared Calhoun. Who else is there? Is there somebody else?
Yeah, I don't really know any. I mean, and he's not, I don't think, ideal for West Virginia myself.
Outside of Bob Huggins, obviously.
Right. Well, I don't, you were asking everyone earlier. I wouldn't give, Bob Huggins is West Virginia basketball. He built it. He built the practice facility, but he's just too old. His time's passed. Even in the last couple of years, you could tell he was kind of going downhill. The game was kind of passing him by a bit.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a fan of it either. I love Huggy Bear, man, and I think the guy deserves a statue outside the Coliseum one day.
Oh, me too. Bob Huggins Court right there.
But everybody's career has to end at some point. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah,
it was just time.
No, but I'll leave you with this. I'm an advocate of Chester Frazier. I think he could do good here. I think he has the chip on his shoulder, like I think our whole fan base does. So, especially after something like this.
Yep. I mean, I would be if I trust Ren Baker to make the right decision. If he felt like he was the right guy, then I would trust it. Because that means he aced the interview and proved that he had a plan, and Ren felt like he could achieve that plan. So I would be cool with it. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna jump over to my next caller, Pat. But I thank you for coming on.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Larry, how we doing? Can you hear me, Larry? You might be on mute, man. Yeah, apparently Larry's having technical issues. But anyway, thanks to everybody for hopping on here. It was a fun show. Hopefully y'all got to vent and get this off your chest. And Jared Calhoun is available. I mean, he's coaching for Utah State, getting ready to go in the NCAA tournament. But yeah, I'm assuming he'd be available. He's a Huggins disciple, so he's going to coach probably a similar style of ball of what we had with Huggins. And he's been successful. He's had success at pretty much every stop he's made. So I think he definitely would be on the list of candidates more than likely. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning into the show. I'm going to call it a night here. Appreciate everybody's support. If you're watching on X, again, please come over to the YouTube channel, Hoops from the Hills, and subscribe. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube. Please leave comments, whether you're watching on the replay or not. The comments still help. The likes still help. All that still helps. Thanks again for everybody hopping on. And have a great night. Go Mountaineers.